It is rivalry weekend. Hey, listen, for some teams, this is just the bridge across the road to the college football playoff. I know we have conference championships, but there's some of these teams, they're just so good. You know they're going to win their conference. Other teams, the misery will finally be over after this weekend. And so I'm going to dive into those games in just a second. I am simulcasting on both my channels. I'm on my Clemson channel and I'm on another college football podcast. So if you love college football, I hope you'll check out another college football podcast. I'm only a few subscribers away from 500 subscribers on the new channel. So if you will, I hope you'll go over there and subscribe. It is free. Subscribe on the Clemson channel as well. Drop me a line in the comment section and say hello. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everything was truly happy. I know that Thanksgiving special occasions can either bring out the best in people or the worst in people. I find it extremely interesting that for, I would say, 363 days of the year, you're like, hold on, there's 365 unless we're in a leap year. Why do you say 363? Because mostly it's around Christmas and Thanksgiving. That of the vast majority of people have to be around people that the other 363 days of the year they avoid. And then suddenly everyone's supposed to pile into a small room, have small talk, and act like that they don't avoid one another at all cost for the other 363 days. So I had someone say to me one time, it goes, hey, I'm not around people I don't want to be around. And I know this person to be one of those that barks really loud, but they're more bark than bite. So anyway, I hope you made it through it. I had a really good Thanksgiving and got to spend it. I was spending it with my wife and my two kids. It was us. It was a really, really good time. We had a blast. It was fun. It was a little different. We'd never done that before. And normally we go to our families. We rotate and we have a great time. I have a great time. So if any of my family sees this, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about I know that there's situations out there at wholesale that we do this thing where we pull everybody into a room with people that that never gets along and expect everyone to put on medicated smiles. And we could say it's called being civil. No, I'm not saying when you get in those situations, you shouldn't put your best foot forward. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Thanksgiving Thanksgiving, Christmas, special occasions, people get just totally unrealistic. And it just, anyway, but I had a good one yesterday. I'm thankful. We did go around the table and we allowed everyone, I say allowed, but my wife started off, she said, hey, listen, boys, I want y'all, because I have two sons, one's 9, one's 19. So two totally ends of the spectrum, said one serious thing you're thankful for and then one silly thing you're thankful for. And they did it, and then they did not fail. It was fantastic. And but I'm gonna tell you this. When it got to me, I was like, look, I'm gonna of course give you something, a couple of things that are silly, but I went down a laundry list of things I was thankful for, and I'm gonna tell you this: God has been good to me. He's been extremely gracious and good to me. So I'm very thankful for what I have, and all the way down to a YouTube show that anyone could start. Yes, anyone can start a YouTube channel, but a lot of you I've started to interact with and got to know you. Some of you I actually know on a decently personal level, and it's been a blessing. So, all right, I'm 4 minutes in. I haven't talked about rivalries, but well, welcome to the channel. Here we go. Now, I talked about Clemson and South Carolina getting together tomorrow at 12 o'clock on the SEC network. I went ahead and I gave my prediction. Go check out that video. It's under 14 minutes long. You'll find out who I picked in that ball game. I will tell you this straight up. You could pick either team and still be wrong. It's that bad for both of those football teams. Clemson and Carolina have definitely just they didn't even come close to meeting expectations. And I've said this over and over. When I saw how many defensive starters that South Carolina lost last year, I told them in the preseason, no, this run to the college football playoff, It's not going to happen. Of course, I was met with the regular stereotypical pushback. A lot of fans speak, very little logic. And then reality comes home to roost. Pun intended. But with that said, Clemson and Carolina, Carolina season's over tomorrow, no matter what happens. They can beat Clemson, and their season's over. They can say, "Hey, we finished with a losing record and still beat you." That would be the only thing that they could say. You flip to Clemson on the other side, it's actually even worse for Clemson. Guys like Paul Feinbaum saying, "Hey, you're going to win the national championship." Now, I never went that far. I felt like they had the roster to do something special this year. I looked at their strength of schedule. I felt like Clemson should own that up and down. The ACC is not tough to play in. I'm sick and tired of acting like the ACC is great. The ACC is not great. Now, if Clemson enters the playoff and they beat the crap out of let me rephrase that. If Clemson won this schedule out, they went to the playoff and they beat everyone, there's no arguing there. Well, your schedule was so easy to where you were nice and rested by the time you got to the playoff. I get that argument to a point, but after a while, if you are not big enough to play in the SEC or the Big Ten, the next time your contract is up for your school, get out and go to the MAC. Go to the Sun Belt. If you cannot handle the fire, if you can't handle the heat, don't get in the fire. So there we go. And I say this to Clemson. If you want people to respect you, being in the ACC, same's true for you. You're supposed to beat those teams, and then when you play a big team, you're supposed to beat them and prove that, hey, we're not just skating along on an easy conference. Anytime we play a good team, we beat them. Clemson, you can't do that. Clemson fans, a lot of you, if you watch this channel, on a regular basis, you probably agree with me. Clemson can't beat a big team. If you put a gun to their favorite person's head, they can't beat a big team. Can't. And this year they couldn't beat even decent teams. So this rivalry is a hodgepodge of terrible. It's bad. It is really bad. You can go check out that prediction over there. All right, let's talk about today. This is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And coaching changes has already happened in the past 2 days. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm telling you, this weekend is crazy. It's really, really crazy. This game is really interesting because the head coach of the visiting team is tied to multiple massive jobs. Well, 2 massive jobs in college football. There's been pressure mounting on him to make a decision for the past 3 weeks, and that's Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss at Mississippi State. They're 10-1, playing at 5-6 Mississippi State. Now, when people hear 5-6 Mississippi State, it's easy to take a shot at Jeff Lebby in year 2. Last year, they won 2 ball games. And Jeff Lebby had them more competitive this year. Mississippi State is a team. Taking over that school is not easy. Taking over that team is far from easy. And they've had some real heartbreakers this year. They lost to Tennessee by 7 points in overtime. They lost to Florida by 2 points. They lost to Texas by 7 points. Now, the other games outside of that, they lost by 22 to A&M. They lost by 20 to Georgia. They lost by 22 to Missouri. Okay. But there was a chance for them to have 3 more wins. That's what I'm trying to get at. But this team that was 2-10 last year, to even if they finish the season 5-7, that's way better than what they were last year. You know, excuse me. So, I think that Jeff Lebby has them going in the right direction. He's just meeting an Ole Miss team that Ole Miss is a 7.5-point favorite coming into this game. It's in Starkville. The key here is what I've been preaching all month long in the month of November. Are you focused? Now for Ole Miss, this is the very end of the season. You look across the line of scrimmage, you see a 5-6 football team. You see a team that, though they're 5-6 and they're much improved considering last year, you should beat them and beat them handily. You're only a 7.5-point favorite. Well, Brian, that's the rivalry. Okay, yeah, some of it. But if this game were in October and you gave Mississippi State different jerseys, Ole Miss beats them by 17 points or something like that. I think so. Even though I think Jeff Lebby has them playing better. And so there's that part of focus. But Ole Miss has yet another obstacle of focus that they have to get past. They have to. They have to get past it. And that is, will Lane Kiffin be their head football coach after this game? Pause there. North Texas, their head coach was just hired at Oklahoma State. I think that is a really good hire for Oklahoma State. I think that they stepped back and looked and realized that, you know, I want to say LSU, Penn State, and Florida all came open after that job. I could be wrong on one of those teams, but two of those teams came open. Their coaching, their head coach position came open after Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State ends up firing Gundy, and they think, okay, we're going to have a choice at a coach, because Oklahoma State has been a really good football team who just over the past, handful of seasons has really started to go down. And then LSU comes open, and then Florida comes open. Then Auburn comes open. Then this job comes open, and that job comes open. And and for them to go and get the guy out in North Texas, I can't remember his name. Have to look that up. He's going to coach through the rest of the season. But like for them, I feel bad for them because it's hard to go into that locker room tomorrow. I think North Texas plays tomorrow. And demand that they be focused, because they could easily look at their head coach and say, Coach, we love you. We love you. We appreciate you and all this bunch of good stuff. How dare you demand focus out of us when you just went and took another job? Well, here's the thing with Ole Miss. And I'm looking up this North Texas football here. They play today at 3:30. They're 10-1. They play Temple. They win this game, they're definitely going to their conference championship. But it's hard to ask those guys to buy in. If you look at Lane Kiffin today, and he's talking to his team. The truth is, he's not going to let them know if he's the head coach until after the game. Probably tomorrow, maybe even late tonight. In Lane Kiffin fashion, I would not be shocked if he walks up to the podium, says a decision will be made in no time, and 5 minutes later after he walks from the podium, a decision gets leaked. So it's very difficult to look at this North Texas or look at Ole Miss and demand focus. I need you to be focused. We could be focused if we knew if you were going to be the head coach. That's a massive part in this Ole Miss game. I see Ole Miss winning the game. I think that Lane is going to pull these guys through. The key to this game, as I said, is focus. cut down on the stupid penalties. You're going to get in a rivalry. Guys are going to be shoving one another around. And what's interesting in a rivalry game, I remember looking at the rosters for Clemson and South Carolina and noticing that Clemson had more players from Georgia on it than South Carolina. It was something like that. I hadn't looked at the roster this year. Someone's about to go spot check me and go, hey, you were wrong. I'm not talking about this season. I was talking about another season. So calm down. I know you're ready to. Hey, listen, for you who comment on my videos just by reading the title versus actually listening to it, I'm talking to you. With that said, but you have guys from other states playing in this game, and they're the ones committing the dumb penalties, like they are bought in, and so you can't have a bunch of dumb penalties in a game like this. The one that can keep their head on, keep your head on straight, go in, cut down on the dumb penalties. You're going to do well. For those of you who don't, well, you get what you get. You play dumb games, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. My coffee is not working this morning. Get into the comment section. Harriet DeWitt, good to see you, my man. Got morning, Brian. No Clemson and Carolina arguments at the table this year. We both stink. Carlos, let's see what Coach Allen prepares to minimize Norris. Nice jacket. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Will, man. Watch the show regularly. Support the channel, man. If the O-line holds up, I think we win. Go Tigers. Caleb Johnson, good to see you, and I appreciate that. Both Clemson and Carolina are bad this year, but like it or not, at least Clemson can say they are going to a bowl game. Carolina can't say that. Good to see SC Country. I agree with the well said. Even though not the best season, let's support our Tigers, get bragging rights. I would hate to hear trash talk from talk all year from Carolina fans if we lose, though. Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. When it comes to Clemson and South Carolina, and by the way, for anyone who's watching, is like, I care less about Clemson, South Carolina. You're on my other channel. Next game up I'm going to talk about is Georgia. Georgia plays at 3:30, Georgia and Georgia Tech. So I'm going to get to that, but I will make this statement about Clemson and Carolina. If Clemson loses this ball game, do you realize that they've lost the past 3 out of 4 years to South Carolina? I know that was weird right there. You're just like, what did he do right there? If that little tab that goes down into the drink or into the coffee, it'll get coffee on it. When I tilt it up, it dots my nose. One day I looked up like, what is on my nose? And it was coffee. So I hate that I did that on camera. You should make fun of me. It looks super strange. But anyway, that's why I did it. I should just delete this now. All right. Yeah. If Clemson loses this ball game, they've lost 3 out of the past 4 years to South Carolina. Last time I checked, I know South Carolina had a good season last year for them. That should really heighten or sound the alarm for Clemson fans who think people like me are the bad guy. If South Carolina was competing for a national championship, we would hate it. It's still the rivalry. You don't want to lose to your rival. But when they are, they have one good season and they've beat you, if they win this year and they beat you 3 out of the past 4 years, that should wake a lot of people up. All right, get in here. Next rivalry, we have Georgia at Georgia Tech, 3:30 on ABC today. Georgia comes in 10-1 with only one loss to Alabama in Athens. That was many weeks ago. You have Georgia Tech, who up until last week looked like they were going to make a run for the ACC championship, had been the favorite to make a run in the ACC championship. Then they played Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh absolutely drove them into the ground. And this is after Pittsburgh absolutely got emasculated by Notre Dame. So you have Georgia Tech. They're 9-2. They improved on their season. From last year, they were 7-6. 7-6 last year. They're 9-2 so far. Of course, 7-6. That's counting the bowl game against Vanderbilt where they lost. Georgia Tech, even if they lost today, they're 9-3, they go to a bowl game, they win. They'd have a 10-win season. And for Brent Key and what he's done there at that school, I'm telling you this, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and what he's doing is incredible. They're playing, last I checked, they're playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So they're not playing at Bobby Dodd. They're playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This place will be packed out with Georgia fans. I'm going to tell you that. They are going to pack this place out. And they are going to turn Mercedes-Benz Stadium into a Georgia game. Well, hold on. Only each school gets so many tickets, and said schools will sell said tickets. Don't be surprised if there's way more red there than gold and white. And Georgia Tech, we know that last year they had that I spilled coffee on my jacket. Need to wash that or else it will stain. I like this jacket. But they had that 8 overtime game last year. I don't see that being the case this year. Georgia is a 13.5-point favorite. I think they're locked and loaded, and I think right now that Georgia Tech is still stunned after last week. I think they're sitting there going, holy crap. If there was one game that we needed to win, it was last week. And I've been pulling for Georgia Tech since they beat Clemson. I was like, you know what? Out of all the teams left in the ACC, and I say that loosely, but in the ACC, out of all the teams left, I would be okay if Georgia Tech went to the ACC championship and won it. I'm not a Yellow Jacket. I really don't have a dog in the fight. Sorry, Jackets, that I used that pun. But I like what Brent Key is doing there. He has turned them around. He has made them competitive. He had to replace his defensive coordinator. He did and did well. He went to the transfer portal and he got who he needed to make his team competitive. They did a pretty good job of evaluating the talent. They've schemed for Haynes King and his abilities, not what they wish they had. And it's not a shot towards Haynes King. That's just me saying that a lot of schools will not, listen to me, they will not scheme for the talent they have. They scheme for the talent they wish they had and call it, well, this is our scheme and they need to fit into it. Nope. Get ready for losses, my friend. I say this to all coaches. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're coaching middle school ball right now. Your job is to ethically win ball games. You notice how I said ethically? You don't supposed to go out and do anything bad. And if the rules permit you, like it does in the college game, to pay players, and it does, well, instead of you sitting over in the corner going, well, hold on, we don't have as much money as so-and-so, tell that to Indiana and Kirk Cignetti winning a bunch of ball games. Even if they get crushed next week against Ohio State, what that man has done there is unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's making a lot of people look bad. Clark Lee, they're making a lot of people look bad at programs. It's like, we need more money. And it's like, no, you're just not that good of a coach. You may be a good OC or a good DC, but you're not a good coach. And Georgia Tech is one of those teams that Brent Key stepped in and he has selected the right people to play for him. And he has schemed. His staff has schemed for the talent they have. On the other side, you have the Georgia Bulldogs coming in at 10-1. Gunnar Stockton from up in the mountains of North Georgia, up there around that Clayton, Georgia area. Rabun County. See him take over this football team and do what he's done is pretty doggone impressive. Pretty doggone impressive. And both the quarterbacks here are extremely impressive. Of course, Haynes King is the leading rusher on their team with 883 yards. Stockton, almost 2,500 yards passing. Haynes King, 2,516 yards passing. So this can be a fun one. I just think Georgia has too much. I think Georgia has too much. They got out of that game last year in Athens, and they could have lost. And I think they're too focused right now. I think they're focused. I think this could be a good game. I think this is probably one of the best games of the entire weekend. The key for Georgia Tech is don't you dare. You play a slower game. Don't you dare get down by a couple of touchdowns, because if Georgia jumps out to a couple of touchdown lead for some reason, ball game over. I don't care if it is the first quarter. If Georgia jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead early on, game over. You can go ahead and turn it off. Brian, what happens if Georgia Tech jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead? Don't turn it off. Georgia thrives on just slowly defeating you until they've defeated you. Ask Tennessee about that. Tennessee was up big time on Georgia in Knoxville, and it was like, finally, Heupel is going to, and Georgia wins. I see the Bulldogs pulling this game out. Get in the comments section, say hello to a few people. Happy holidays, Noah Denton, good to see you. Go Tigers, good to see you. On a separate note, it would be interesting if Michigan beats the Buckeyes tomorrow. It sure would be. Got a tennis girl in here saying Sandstorm. Good to see you, tennis girl. Big John, tell us about the Durkins family Thanksgiving. Hope it was great. We are thankful for you. Well, thank you, Big John. Thanks for supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Appreciate you checking in. Big John's a big supporter of the channel and a friend of the show. Appreciate. I don't know if you missed this a little early on, Big John, but I told everyone I appreciate everyone here, and I appreciate you, and appreciate all the viewers. And this channel's grown a lot in 3 years, and it's because people like yourself just watching the videos and passing them along and subscribing, and in your case, joining per month. And so I really do appreciate that. I really do. All right, so I picked Ole Miss to win today. They'll be figuring out who the head coach of Ole Miss is probably. I think we'll know by tonight if Lane Kiffin is moving on from Ole Miss. How crazy would it be if his team gets to the college football playoff and he's not the head coach? And if he is the head coach, if they, let me say this, he takes another job, but they say, we'll let you finish out the season. How will his players respond knowing that even if they win a national championship, he's gone? Now, folks, before NIL and transfer portal, all that bunch of stuff took off, this was going on. This has been going on for years right here. Next big game, 7 o'clock. No, 7:30. 7:30 on ABC. We have the undefeated Texas A&M Aggies, 11-0, 7-0 in the SEC, traveling to Austin, Texas, to play their rivals, 8-3, 5-2 in the SEC, Texas Longhorns. Texas A&M's a 2.5-point favorite. I don't know why Texas is ranked number 16, folks. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I expect Sark is a really, really good play caller. Sark is a really good play caller. I just don't believe that he is an amazing head coach. Again, for anyone who wants to rebut me, everyone's entitled to their opinion. With that said, Texas pours outrageous amounts of money into their football program. And Vanderbilt has a better season than you have. The Fighting Doctors, the Fighting Neurosurgeons, they have a better season than you and almost beat you after you were up big. They almost beat you. They didn't. I know almost didn't happen, but They do have a better season than you, and they don't have near the money or the resources that you have. And if they do, it's being poured into something else. It's not being poured into football. And so for me, if I'm A&M walking into this game and I'm a 2.5-point favorite, we know that Sark is going to call an unbelievable offensive game plan. If I'm Mike Elko's bunch, I'm going, look, we went down by 27 points to a terrible South Carolina team, and we came back. We can't do that to Texas. We can't. We can't do that to Texas. We do that to Texas in this beautiful 11-0 season, 7-0 in the SEC. We'll probably get into the college football playoff, but right now, A&M, all you have to do is beat your rival. You are guaranteed a spot in the SEC championship. You're the only undefeated team in the SEC. You're the only undefeated team overall and in conference in the SEC. Everyone's starting with Georgia and Ole Miss. They have one loss. Alabama, they have one conference loss, 2 overall. I know that doesn't count towards a conference, but I'm just throwing that out there for anyone who's interested. Texas, Oklahoma, Vandy, they all have 2 conference losses. So I'm sitting here looking at this. I'm sitting here looking at this matchup, and I'm going, again, focus. Texas A&M has to focus going into this game, because all you have to do is look at Texas and ask yourself, who have they lost to? Well, they lost to Ohio State. All right, Ohio State, undefeated, top team in the country. A lot of people are questioning if they've been tested enough. A lot of people saying, hey, they're probably one of the least tested teams in a while to be, at the top of the rankings. Okay, we could say that, but guess what? Ohio State is undefeated, and they beat Texas in the very first game of the year. Texas actually had more returning for them than Ohio State did, and Ohio State won that game. Of course, it was in the horseshoe, 14-7. But then Florida, losing to Florida 29-21. That's a head scratcher. I think it was the very next week that Florida beat Mississippi State, and then Florida went ahead and fired Billy Napier after a win. Well, it was an ugly win. I get it, but at the state they were at, it didn't make anyway. Maybe it was a couple of weeks after. Georgia beat the crap out of Texas. Georgia beat the crap out of Texas, 35-10. And if I'm Texas A&M, I'm looking at Georgia and I'm saying, hey, we have different approaches here and there. What did they do to get Texas off kilter so bad? What did they do and then implement that? I'm going to go with A&M winning this game. I think that Texas could definitely win it. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But I do find it extremely interesting that this is such a close game. But kudos to Mike Elko. Mike Elko comes out of Duke, and in his second season, he has you undefeated in the SEC. In the SEC. And I'm looking at their schedule right now. I know that people are going to say, well, hold on. They didn't play this team or they haven't played that team. Okay, I get it. But your argument, we got to be careful with it holding water, because I've seen some top tier SEC teams who's played a lot of the other big talent in the conference, and they drop a game to, say, Mississippi State or to Auburn. Or drop a game to LSU, who ended up not being good at all. And then the excuse was used, well, hold on, we're playing the SEC week after week. Which is it? Which excuse are you going to hug like a leech on a host? Which is it? Because sure, Texas A&M haven't played Georgia. They didn't play Ole Miss or Alabama. I get that. But the teams they've played up to this point, they have beat. They have beat those teams. They did beat LSU commandingly. They beat Missouri commandingly. It wasn't close. The only close game they've had in the SEC is Auburn with that 16-10 game. And then that game where they spotted South Carolina 27 points and came all the way back and beat them. Most teams check out when they're down by 27. I don't know if you've ever noticed that or not. And we could talk about how bad South Carolina is and blah, blah, blah. You should be talking about how Mike Elko could look at his team and go, at halftime, you're down 30-3 at home. How do you spin that? But he did. Hey, guys, look. Let's just go out there and play football and get – every time we have the ball, we do our thing. Every time they have the ball, we do our thing. Clear your head. Go out there, do that. Forget the first half. Learn from your mistakes and move on. That's exactly – I don't know what was said at halftime, but that right there was unbelievable coaching. To turn someone's mind around at a halftime interval of what, 15 minutes? I'm a Mike Elko fan, folks. Mike Elko is one of those guys who has went to a school that has a lot of money, and he has not disappointed at all. If Mike Elko gets his football team into the college football playoff in year 2, they'll throw money at him even more than they already have. A guy like him who can actually coach at a school with a lot of resources is outrageously dangerous. While you have these other guys who they're at a school with a ton of resources, maybe they have some recent history over the past 15 years. They've won a national championship or something. Maybe over the past 15 years, they've won the conference championship. Maybe they've competed. Maybe they didn't win a national championship, but they've had some success. But they also have these seasons that are kind of down. You don't get why they would have those down seasons. And then you have everyone come out of the woodworks making excuses for them, saying you can't win a national championship every year. That's out of the question. It's like, no, but you can't win a championship. And then Elko comes in. You know, I've talked a lot about Kirk Cignetti going to Indiana, and I should talk about him. You know why? Indiana is historically awful at football. Horrible. Even good coaches that have went there could not completely turn it around. Cignetti did. You could say NIL helped him a lot. Sure. But here's the thing about NIL and using the transfer portal. You have to know how to spot the right players and develop them and scheme for them. And if you have one of those variables missing, the house falls apart. Cignetti has all of it pulled together. At Indiana. Meanwhile, we have coaches who have donors with endless supplies of money being poured into their program, and they still waddle up to a podium and offer more excuses than a 13-year-old, I can't even speak, who snuck out of the house and got caught smoking with his friends in a bathroom. And they want people to take them serious. When in fact, if those very same people who were fans, the common fan, like you and I, most of you, and myself, if we gave even half those types of excuses at our job would fire us, chop our heads off, and bowl with our heads if we gave that poor of excuse of why we wasted that much resources. And somehow we're supposed to feel sorry for some of these guys. I don't. I have empathy when I see it worthwhile, but I also step back and go, maybe you're just not as good of a head coach as you think you are. Maybe you're a good DC, maybe you're a good OC. Mike Elko is making everyone look bad right now in year 2. He's got all those resources of A&M. A lot of guys have had those resources of A&M, and they failed. They have wet the bed. They have crapped their pants. They've ruined chairs. They've crapped themselves so bad, embarrassed themselves. Because with all those resources poured into them, we found one thing. They're not that level of a coach. Mike Elko is. Now, there are guys who do well at the underdog schools, and then they move on and they don't do so well at the schools where they cannot play the underdog card anymore. The underdog card has been thrown out the window. You can't play that anymore. And they don't know what to do because that was how they built. They're not an Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was a guy who started at the bottom, and everywhere he went, he won. Everywhere. Like everywhere. You remember when Utah humiliated Alabama? Before I make that step, no, I'm wrong there. No, I'm wrong there. I'm pretty sure. I was about to give an example when I just realized I'm pretty sure I'm wrong there. So I'm going to pause there. But this guy won everywhere he went. What about the NFL? Nick Saban didn't even do well in the NFL. You want to talk trash about Nick Saban? There's a lot of you, if Nick Saban came and coached at your school in his prime, you would sell your firstborn and secondborn just to have that, which, by the way, I think that I'm using that loosely. Football doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I think we should know this. With that said, Urban Meyer won at every level, or with every type of team in college football, basically. Small team, mid-tier team, big team. 2 massive jobs in Florida and Ohio State. Won a national championship at both places. Won 2 at Florida. And he had to coach in different areas. He had to coach in different areas. He had to coach at different levels with different budgets, and he still won. Most guys can't do that. They need all the money in the world to get the prize recruits and to hire a staff, and they still can't coach. Other guys, they can win at the smaller, where there's no expectation, but they go out there and they win. They can't take the pressure. They can't beat the big teams. Mike Elko coached at Duke and looked great. He's at A&M, looks unbelievable. I see the Aggies winning this ball game. It's a really, really close one. Hamp Redmond. Hello, buddy. Good to see you, Hamp. Good to see you in here. Rustastic. Hope your family enjoyed a great Thanksgiving. We're going into a great weekend of college football. Thanks for the updates, Rustastic. It's good to see you in here, my friend. It's really good to see you. Watch out for those rabid 3-legged dogs in the parking lot Saturday. Yeah, in the PBS parking lot. It's glorious. North Texas, Eastern Michigan, and Hawaii have the top RZ offenses in the country. Think Dabo will go after one of those coaches? I don't know. Lee Harden. It's good to see you in here. I don't know. I think that we will not see any real changes at Clemson until after whatever bowl game Clemson goes to. According to what happens tomorrow, if Clemson loses to South Carolina tomorrow, I think you may see one coaching change. If Clemson wins tomorrow, that spot on my jacket is just absolutely killing me. I'm going to have to wash it or I'm going to lose my mind. If Clemson wins tomorrow, I don't think we're going to see coaching changes at all. All right, let's. I'm going to run through a few of these tonight. 7:30 on NBC. A very underwhelming game because one team's undefeated, the other team is 2-9. We have Indiana at Purdue. Indiana wins this ball game. They finish out the season 12-0. Kirk Cignetti, he beat Oregon. A lot of teams can't beat Oregon. He did. He went to Eugene, Oregon, to Outson Stadium and beat them. I mean, beat the crap out of them. And so I believe they're going to go undefeated tonight. I believe they'll win that game, and then next week it will be them and undefeated Ohio State for the conference championship. And you know, the only way that I could see Ohio State not making this is if Michigan beats them. If Michigan beats Ohio State, there would be 3 one-loss teams below Indiana, and that would be interesting to see which team would go. I don't know all the math. Maybe some of you, if Eric Boggs ends up watching this video, he gets to this part, maybe he'll notice he'll notice me saying this and go, hold on, I already know if Ohio State wins, we're still in, or whatever. Or if Ohio State loses, Michigan wins, we're still in. I don't know. But with that said, Ohio State, most likely it will be them next week, as long as they don't lose to Michigan tomorrow. Of course, I'll talk about tomorrow's games tomorrow. I'm mentioning Michigan and Ohio State, but of course, that's one of the biggest games all year, whether you love or hate both of those teams, or a mixture of both. Of course, Indiana's going to win this ball game. Something crazy would have to happen for Purdue to beat them. But tonight, I believe that you're going to see Indiana go 12-0. I believe you're going to see them just do something that just 2 years ago would have been very far into them. Tonight, 9 o'clock, we have Arizona State. Both teams are 8-3. Arizona State had that unbelievable team last year. Of course, Cam Scatterboo had a lot to do with that. But Arizona State kind of not reaching the heights that they reached last year, and they're still 8-3. That says a lot about Kenny Dillingham and what he's done out there. So you have Arizona. Here's the thing about them. They have quietly moved into the top 25. They're 8-3. One of my coworkers, who I'm friends with, he went to U of A, and he lives in Tucson. So I know he'll be watching this one. But after last year, with their new head, I think it was last year with their new head coach after Jed Fish went to Washington, had an incredible season. It was hard for Arizona fans to watch. I can tell you from talking to my buddy. This year, they're quietly 8-3. They're quietly going up to Arizona State to play. And this game's interesting. Arizona is a 1.5 point favorite going into Tempe. It's a good one. It's a good one to watch. So y'all have to check that one out. I really don't know who's going to win that game. I'm going to go with Arizona just for the heck of it. But there's a lot of good games going on over the weekend. Of course, I was talking about the games for tomorrow. I'll have a preview of them tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow at 12 o'clock on Fox, we have Ohio State at Michigan. We have Texas Tech trying to close out a one-loss season against West Virginia. We have Miami at Pittsburgh. That's a very interesting game. We have 10-1 BYU playing Central Florida. We have 10-1 Oregon at Washington. We have LSU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma wins tomorrow. That's 10 wins for them. Virginia Tech at UVA, who's 9-2. Of course, Alabama at Auburn. UCLA at USC. And I'm telling you, it's interesting. It's interesting. Well, folks, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a great, wonderful, a great, wonderful day. I'm struggling over here. I hope y'all really do have a really good day. Drop me a line in here. What games or game are you really looking forward to? Let me know why I should watch it. What games did I miss? I know I talked about top 25. There's a lot of games going on that I missed, but tell me what you're looking forward to. I'll drop this one to you. I'm looking forward to James Madison at Coastal Carolina tomorrow. Most likely JMU is going to beat Coastal Carolina, but I like going down to the Chanticleer Stadium and watching them play. James Madison, if they win this game and then they win their conference, they could end up in a decent bowl. That's very interesting. So that would be if I was in the Myrtle Beach area, or if I lived in Columbia, God forbid, or below to where driving to Myrtle Beach was like 2 hours or something like that, I would go to this game tomorrow. I would go to the JMU at Coastal Carolina game. I think it would be fun. But anyway, y'all take care of yourself. And for my Clemson channel, go Tigers. On the other side, I'll catch you tomorrow, and we'll talk